Welcome to part 3 of the Choose Your Own Adventure story, A Knight of the Realm. Written and performed by ASMR Nerd Kingdom. I'll have a link to the playlist, so if you missed parts 1 and 2, you can go check them out. Previously on A Knight of the Realm. You and Nor Coffrey escorted Lady Lynn to Queenston, but before you had an audience with the Queen, you were intercepted by the dastardly Hardwall soldiers. In a small private room, you met Tinio, the Lord of Hardwall's son, and the would-be husband for Lady Lynn, if he had his way. Behind Tinio walks in a trio of Hardwall soldiers. He furrows his brows and says, "You shouldn't have weapons in here. They were supposed to be taken from you. Seems I can't trust all my men here. Oh well, soldiers, I want them alive and thrown in a dungeon." The soldiers unsheath their swords and take their positions. If you try diplomacy, go to page 5. If you fight, go to page 3. Fight it is. Page 3. The small room is not conducive to fighting, but you try to throw a dagger at one of the soldiers. He sees it coming and blocks it with his shield. Tinio slips out of the room and closes the door. Lady Lynn tries to cast a charming spell, but is interrupted by the soldier closest to her, throwing a small pouch in her direction. The pouch opens mid-arc and sand comes out in all directions, getting in Lady Lynn's eyes and mouth. She coughs and rubs her eyes, incapacitated. Coffrey jumps on the table in the center of the room and engages in single combat with one of the soldiers. The soldier blocks with his shield and parries strike for strike. You lunge forward with your long spear to cover the distance over the table and try to get your spear tip in a weakness of their armor, to no avail. Your opponent uses a short sword to chop the tip of your spear, rendering it fairly useless. Your opponent uses a short sword to chop the tip of your spear, rendering it fairly useless. Before Lady Lynn could recover, the sand thrower shoves a rag in her mouth to gag her and ties her arms and legs. You try to stop him, but your opponent runs over to block you. You take out your short sword, but before you can strike, you hear a loud crash and see Coffrey on his back on the now broken table. The soldier used your moment of distraction to take out a whip. You hear the crack of the whip and find your arms locked to your sides. The soldier raises a club and brings it down on your head. The last thing you see before everything goes black is Lady Lynn, struggling and helplessly thrown over the soldier's shoulder. You open your eyes and see dim torchlight far away. Looking around, you find yourself alone in a cell. You are cold, your head hurts, and you have no equipment. You go to the bars of the cell and look for other people. No one is around save the other prisoners. "Coffrey? Lady Lynn?" you call out, hopeful. You hear a moan from the cell next to you. You hear steps coming closer, and a shadow growing on the wall. A jailer arrives, keys clinking on his belt. Dinner tonight is rotten fish or moldy bread. What will it be? If you choose to remain silent, go to page 6. If you choose to respond, go to page 7. The silent treatment. I like it. The jailer grunts and says, "No answer, no food. Your funeral." He continues walking up the hall, asking all prisoners what they want to eat. Coffrey also remains silent, but you aren't sure whether he's actually here. You take stock of your cell. You can stretch out your arms, and your fingertips don't touch the walls. There's a bucket in the corner for waste, but no other furniture. There's a pile of straw in another corner. There is no window, and the walls are made of stone. You try to find a loose stone, to no avail. You tentatively try to move the cell bars, but they are strong and sturdy. The padlock requires a key. Unfortunately, they took your tools, so you aren't able to pick the lock. The jailer returns with foul-smelling food for the prisoners that are so weak they are willing to eat anything. A new jailer arrives, and the former gives a rundown of new prisoners. The latter nods and takes the ring of keys and wishes him a good evening. Once the footsteps fade away, the jailer immediately checks on your neighbor. He opens the cell door and enters. You hear muffled sounds, and then Coffrey is walking out, leaning on the jailer for support. Coffrey asks about you. The jailer motions to your cell. "Coffrey, what's going on?" you ask. Before he can respond, the jailer says, "Nor Coffrey was my commander in the war before I came into the Queen's service. He saved my life on multiple occasions, so whatever is happening, I'm here to help you if I can. My name is Lat." "Do you know anything about Lady Lynn and the Hardwall soldiers?" you ask. The guards were gossiping about a woman who was carried out by Hardwall soldiers and taken out the west gate, he says while unlocking your cell. "Thank you. Coffrey, how are you feeling?" "Not great, my friend, but I've felt worse. You do the talking, I'll focus on the standing." Lat unlocks a chest holding all your weapons and equipment. You gear up. If you go find Lady Lynn, go to page 10. If you go see the Queen, go to page 9. Alright, let's see if we can find the Queen. We should try to see the Queen. Perhaps she can give us backup to help find Lady Lynn, you say to Nor Coffrey. He agrees. "Can you get us an audience with the Queen?" you ask Lat. "I'm good friends with one of the Queen's guards. Let me talk to him and see if it can be set up. For now, follow me. I'll hide you somewhere safe and warm." He leads you up some stairs, much to the dismay of the other prisoners, and guides you to a landing with a door. Inside is a linen storage room. He ushers you in, closes the door, and makes his way further upstairs. You and Coffrey make yourselves comfortable. While you wait, Coffrey sleeps a bit. About a half hour later, Lat returns with a member of the Queen's Guard. Good evening. Lat here tells me the great Nor Coffrey was apprehended. The Queen is curious as to why and has requested an audience with you in his private chamber. Follow me. Good evening. Lat here tells me the great Nor Coffrey was apprehended. The Queen is curious as to why and has requested an audience with you in a private chamber. Follow me. You follow, quite glad that Nor Coffrey is your companion. The dark and cold dungeons give way to warmly lit hallways. The guard leads you to a tower, and you all begin climbing stair after stair. You offer a hand to Coffrey, but he seems to be getting better by the minute. By the time you reach the top of the tower, everyone is a little out of breath and takes a moment to recover before the guard knocks and announces you. 2 knights of the realm answering a summons for audience with the Queen, he calls out after opening the double doors. You and Coffrey enter side by side, approach the Queen sitting on an ornate chair, not too dissimilar to her throne in the main hall, and go down on one knee, head bowed. The Queen says, "Rise, knights, and tell me your business." You pass along the missive from the Lord of Ellicar and explain the main events that have occurred since Hardwall's first attack. When you finish, the Queen says, "You have a problem, knights. The Lord of Hardwall's son is here and telling me a very different story." I believe you, but I cannot choose open war with mine own bannermen based on faith. Bring me Lady Lynn or her Lord Father, and we will plan our next steps. Until then, I must continue to host the Hardwalls. Thank you for your bravery thus far, Knights of the Realm. Can you provide us with extra guards to help find Lady Lynn? You ask. Much as I would like to, that would look like choosing sides. You must handle this on your own. You leave the chamber with Nor Coffrey, and Lat leads you down the assistance staircase, away from any Hardwall soldiers. He lets you out by the kitchens, with a warm bread wrapped in one linen, and a pat of butter in another. The sun is setting behind the mountains to the west, casting a beautiful red glow into the heavens. I wish I could help you, Nor Coffrey, but I've been too long away from the dungeons. I must return. With that, he heads back inside the castle. Nor Coffrey turns to you and says, "Lat mentioned a group of Hardwall soldiers left the city heading west. We should follow." Leaving through the western gate, you spy a smoke column a few leagues ahead and make your way towards it. If you sneak up to the camp to get the lay of the land, go to page 14. If you approach the camp directly, go to page 15. Page 14 it is. You sneak up to the camp from the north side, making little to no noise on your approach. The lookout scouts are few and far between. They aren't expecting an ambush this close to the capital. By now, the sun has set behind the mountains, and stars begin to shine above. You make your way closer and closer, trying to find where Lady Lynn may be kept. Most of the soldiers are stationed around a few fire pits, eagerly awaiting their dinner. You sneak between the trees, hidden in the shadows. Off to the side of all the fire pits, barely noticeable in the dim light, you see the fly-by-nights. Nor Alex and the rest are sitting with their backs to a large tree, bound together by rope. Lady Lynn is nowhere to be seen. If you continue to look for Lady Lynn, go to page 18. If you rescue the fly-by-nights, go to page 16. Good choice. Let's go rescue the fly-by-nights. Meet me at the top of the hill across the Queen's Road once you free them. I'll provide you with a distraction, says Norcoffrey. You and Norcoffrey split up. He heads to the opposite side of the camp and silently cuts the ropes holding the horses in place. He hits their flanks and the horses neigh loudly and take off in every direction but the camp. Norcoffrey remained hidden. With that distraction happening, you are able to get to the captives and cut them loose. They grab what gear they can quickly take and follow you slowly and stealthily out of the camp. As promised, you make your way silently to the hill where Norcoffrey is already waiting. Deeming it finally safe to talk, Nor Alex says, "You are a sight for sore eyes. Back at that inn in Perrytown, we were poisoned for winning our bet. 1 minute we were drinking to our success. The next minute we wake up outside, our instruments and weapons nowhere to be found. These Hartwell soldiers found us like that, but still recognized us from Elokar. They took us captive and tried to get information from us. Considering we were delirious from the poison, we think we may have talked about Lady Lynn and where you were headed. I'm so sorry." She looked contrite. "No need to apologize," you respond. "It should have been pretty obvious where we were headed anyway. And you are back now. While you were captive, did you see Lady Lynn?" "Well," Norbertu, the dwarf drummer, started, "we can't be sure. We only started to feel better around midday today, but this morning we saw, well," Normokwo, the elf flautist, took up the story. "We think we saw Lady Lynn arrive in chains. She was throwing quite the tantrum. And then she transformed into a hawk?" She ended the sentence like a question rather than a statement. "You have to understand, we were all suffering from the poison, but we all think we saw the same thing. If it was a hallucination, why would we each hallucinate the exact same random scenario?" Finished Norbertu. You agree that that seems unlikely. "Well," you say, "we need to find a place where a hawk can find us, but people can't. Any ideas?" If you find a clearing in the trees to camp for the night, go to page 19. If you walk around in the dark, making hawk noises, go to page 20. Hawk noises it is. The fly-by-nights teach you how to make a hawk call, but you aren't very good at it. You opt to stay at the top of the hill in case Lady Lynn sees you. From your vantage point, you can still see the fires from the Hardwell camp. They must have gotten their horses back in order. They probably noticed the fly-by-night's absence, but it would be foolish to try to find them at night, you hope. Nor Coffrey and the others agree to return to the hill in half an hour. The hawk calls come in odd waves, some further away, some closer, others overlapping. After close to an hour, the last fly-by-night has returned. No sign of Lady Lynn. At daybreak, you see a hawk fly nearby. You attempt the hawk call, which wakes up everybody. The fly-by-nights see the hawk and do a much better call. The hawk flies closer and lands on the grass near the fire. Before you can blink, Lady Lynn is standing where the bird just landed. Her hair is disheveled and her boy's clothes are dirty and smelling, but she's smiling at everyone. "You found me!" "How on earth did you pull that off?" asks Norcoffrey. "I had heard that druids can take the shape of an animal, but I never thought I'd be able to do it. Something about the distress and anger I felt at being taken let me reach a magic I never knew was possible." "What's flying like?" asks Nor Alex. "Everything you dreamed of and more. There was no fear of heights. The wind felt as solid to me as the ground does right now. The view from up above is remarkable." "Well, you sure are full of surprises. At some point you'll need to let us rescue you, or they might take away our knighthood," jokes Norcoffrey. Lady Lynn laughs, saying she hopes never to be taken captive again. "Well, we need to return to the Queen. She won't move against Hardwall until she's spoken to you firsthand," you inform her. "What are we waiting for? Let's go. But maybe we can stop at a clothing shop before we go to the castle so I can be presented in proper attire." You agree and head back into Queenston. Luckily, the guard at the gate doesn't recognize you, since this is a different gate than the one you entered a few days ago. You enter the city without issue and purchase linen clothing that befits a lady. If you try to sneak into the castle, go to page 24. If you go to the castle's front gate, go to page 31. Sneaking in, alright. You find your way back to the door near the kitchens, and Norcoffrey knocks. The cook recognizes him from earlier and lets everyone in. "If anyone asks, you walked in through the front gate," she says, pointing a finger. At this time of day, the Queen holds a public audience. "Lady Lynn, do you think it's best to see her in public or wait for a private audience?" "I don't think it will help my cause if Hardwall soldiers see me. We'll need to find a way to see the Queen alone." You and Norcoffrey lead the party up the tower stairs and see the Queen's guard, the friend of Lat's, at the top. "You brought Lady Lynn. Good. Go on in. No one else is in there. I'll make sure the Queen enters alone when she gets here. You have about an hour until she makes her way." You thank the guard and enter the room. There are tables laden with finger foods and light drinks. Assistants are wandering around the room, tidying, cleaning, and laying out food. "Please, help yourself to whatever you desire," one of them says. You eat and drink a bit to pass the time, and the fly-by-nights regale everyone with songs. After an hour, you hear footsteps climbing the staircase. The Queen enters the room and is not surprised to see a group of strangers. Everyone stands at her entrance. You take a knee, along with everyone else wearing leathers. Lady Lynn, in a dress, gives the Queen a low curtsy. Rise, the Queen says. You must be Lady Lynn. I am, Your Grace. Well, get on with it. Why does Hardwell think you ran away from a legal betrothal, and why do you think they're trying to steal Golad's mind from me? Lady Lynn explained what she overheard in the camp, and added that she never agreed to marry anyone, and has been taken captive twice now by Hardwell soldiers. Seems they can't keep you. How is it you always seem to escape? The rumors about Hardwell hating magic are true. I'm trained as a druid, Your Grace. They underestimate me time and again. In fact, I underestimated myself this time. I was able to shapeshift into a hawk, Lady Lynn explained, with a rather proud tone to her voice. The Queen laughed. A hawk? How wonderful. My younger sister trained as a druid before she passed. Her animal was a sparrow. She was an amazing spy, you know. No one can tell sparrows apart, so they never suspected one of them could be her. That's genius, Your Grace. As a hawk, I may not be as easy to go undetected, but my hearing as a hawk was superb. I wouldn't need to be close to a target in order to hear them. I would be honored to be your spy, Lady Lynn finished, eyes gleaming. The Queen smiled at that. First, you must continue to prove your loyalty to me. Do you accept to lead a convoy to Hardwall, sending word that they must stop their hostile takeover of Golad's mine, or face the wrath of the Queen? Will you accept this mission? Will Lady Lynn become a spy? Find out next time on A Night